Hello, welcome to the Fifth Star. I'm Jamie,
And I'm Albert.
and this is a podcast where we're trying to find our next 5-star rated movie. And when we find that movie, this podcast will fall or be murdered.
So today we're reviewing Anatomy of a Fall, which is from last year's Oscars, and it came out in 2023. It's about a man who is found dead, and his wife is kind of at the center of the investigation. So did she do it? Was she involved? We will find out. So we wrote down what we rated the movie secretly,
Yes.
and we're going to guess what we think each other gave it. Jamie, I think you gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
I was going to say you gave it 3.5.
Okay. So we will first give our spoiler-free thoughts on the movie, and then we will reveal our scores.
Yes.
So this got 5 Academy nominations from last year.
Yes.
And it won Best Original Screenplay. I had seen all the Best Pictures from last year except this.
Yeah.
And so finally, it's nice to finally check that off the list. But yeah, so what did you think? Did you think that it deserved 5 Academy Awards or nominations?
I think it deserved Best Screenplay.
Yeah.
It
was really good.
I thought the screenplay was really well put together, especially for like what typically would be described as a courtroom drama. It did a really good job of kind of like weaving the investigation throughout and then going into the courtroom drama, but kind of like weaving in just, home life moments and making it all feel rather mundane.
Part of the times it almost felt like you're watching like a better version of like court TV or something, where
Yeah.
you just have these long stretches of courtroom dialogue and
Right. And you're kind of like,
investigations.
you're peeking into their life.
Yes.
Intermixed into the courtroom. Which I thought was just really well done. I also thought, I forgot the lead actress's name, but she got nominated.
Yeah.
I thought she was so good.
She was really good.
Like, there's like a scene where she's being recorded on a camcorder,
Mm-hmm.
and her delivery was so believable that I felt like she was that person.
Mm.
It felt like a real interview where she was just being completely herself, and all of her lines weren't lines, they were just her own words. I thought she just killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a very kind of complex performance.
Yeah.
Because, you're really wondering as a viewer, like, is she guilty?
Yeah.
Is she?
Did she do it?
Yeah. Did she do it? Did she not do it? And, like, I think in the performance, it's not totally obvious. Like, yeah, it's hard to tell, like,
You're kinda
what
doubting.
she's thinking exactly a lot of times.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, so there's kind of a subdued kind of emotional like element to it, but there's a lot going on in her head
Yeah.
that's kind of like, I guess like being communicated through the eyes or
Yeah,
her
the
body language.
subtext
Yeah.
is strong, which is like, that is what I look for in a best screenplay. Is how good is the subtext. And I thought they really killed it.
Yeah.
Because multiple scenes in this movie you could read 2 ways.
Yes.
And I thought, that is really hard to do, but really impressive when you do it well.
Yeah. I agree. And I think like for me so it is a really long movie. I'll say
It
that
is.
up front.
It's yeah.
So 2.5 hours. And, there were the first part of the movie where I was like, oh man, this is gonna really be like tough to sit through because it's kind of like a long setup, and so I was kind of like, wow, this is it's moving kind of slow. But I think like as it gets more and more into the nitty-gritty of all the details of the investigation and like the trial and all that kind of stuff, I actually started really enjoying how like the pacing of it. I kind of enjoyed the deliberateness of every moment, of every
everything
kind of
felt
question.
important.
Yeah. And I think like her performance was a big part of that.
Yeah.
Because you're watching it and trying to read her face and she's not giving you a lot. It makes it really compelling, And so kind of the fun of like, what is she thinking, yeah, how much of this is she being truthful or not being truthful?
It keeps the tension at a higher
Yes.
level.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
And one thing I found really interesting is like you see the whole, because this takes place in France, and the film, like I didn't know that it was going to be kind of like an English French movie, but when you see so much of the courtroom like procedural like dynamics, I thought it was like really interesting that you have like a witness who's like being interrogated or being questioned, I guess.
Yeah.
And then like in the middle of that witness's testimony, you can have like the prosecutor like asking the question to the defendant.
I know. I was so thrown off by that.
Yeah, and you can have them, like the defendant and the witness, in like talking to each other at different points.
I thought it was interesting too that the lawyers can't, like, they never object. They just kind of like will interrupt and be like, no, that's not really relevant or whatever. And then the judge like might not say anything.
Yeah.
Whereas in the US, like the judge has to say something.
Because it's like an actual formal objection.
Right. It's a formal, like, you can't ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to scratch it from the record. But in this, it felt like nothing was really scratched from the record.
Yeah.
It was so different.
Yeah.
That this felt, it felt informal.
But then they're in like the gowns and the wigs and all that stuff.
Oh, like physically it looked very formal.
Yeah.
But like the methodology, I guess, felt informal because I'm used to the like objection, compound, objection, leading. And I think that the only thing I would say though is I liked that they can kind of question the defendant in the middle.
Yes.
That was kind of cool.
And part of me wonders, like, I'm guessing it is true to how it actually is in France.
It is. I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, is that a creative choice because it makes it so much more dynamic?
No.
Because it did. When you have like the defendant have to like listen to something a witness is saying.
Yeah.
And in the moment get asked like on the spot, like, well, what'd you think of that?
Or the fact that the defendant can speak directly to the witness.
I know.
I was like,
kind of crazy.
This is allowed?
Yeah. Because like in America, you just have like the defendant quietly sitting there the whole time.
Yeah, if the defendant
trying not
speaks,
to react.
it is like
it's like a big
bad thing. Yeah. Like the defendant is not allowed to say a word unless they're on the stand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it would be seen as disorderly.
Yeah.
So
I really like that part of it. I think it's so interesting to be able to see like the differences in different cultures and the way that they handle like justice and what the law means, and and then the film kind of gets into some of that, like morality. It's a psychological drama, but also has these questions of like morality and the law, the role of the law, what is justice, and like that kind of stuff. And being in a French context that's not like different from ours,
right?
I thought that was kind of interesting. So
it did.
I like that part of it.
It wouldn't have worked as easily in an American court case like this. The way they told the story, you're right. It wouldn't have worked as seamlessly, I think.
Yeah.
Because the fact that they can kind of all interact makes for a much more interesting scene. I will say, though, the lawyers, what they were able to get away with did kind of irritate me. Where I kind of wondered, like, so I don't actually know this part, but the burden of proof is on the prosecution.
Okay.
Right?
In America, yeah.
Yeah, and I wondered, like, is that also true in other countries? Yeah. I didn't look this up.
I don't think that's always true to the extent that it is in America.
That's fascinating.
I know, for example, like in London or in England, when you have like a slander kind of case, like it is kind of the burden of the proof is on the other side. It's you have to prove that you're not guilty of slander or something like that. So it is kind of like different in
that's a good
different
point.
ways.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I don't know, like this is like a murder prosecution, so I don't know if that would be different.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. Like there were definitely moments that you're kind of watching, you're like, man, that seems like inappropriate.
This is conjecture. Yeah.
That they're even bringing this up.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, like, there are parts of it that I kind of feel like, man, if this was like a real case, that it would make sense that it was being addressed.
Yeah.
Like, so what this actually felt like to me was like the first time I listened to Serial, the podcast, and then the first kind of breakout season that they had, that case, like where they're going into the details of different like transcripts of interviews and testimonies in court and all these kinds of details, and you're just listening along and you're trying to figure out like, is this person telling the truth or not? And like, and there's a lot, because that's a podcast, there is a lot of that conjecture, right? And there is a lot of that like ancillary like evidence that's like quote unquote painting a certain type of picture. And it almost felt like I was having that experience in this movie.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Where I'm like, it's kind of
it
like...
It did make it way more entertaining.
Yeah. It's kind of like watching like Making of a Murderer in like the Netflix show or something.
Totally. Yeah. The lawyers being able to kind of like create their own narrative made for a more interesting movie.
Yeah. And they're both doing it.
Yeah, they're both doing it.
So it's... Yeah, so I don't know if anyone is French or knows the French, justice system.
How does this work?
Yeah, like how accurate is this, I guess? Like, is it kind of like this? But I thought that's what made the screenplay so good. The way things are being phrased and everything seems very believable.
Yeah.
But is also really interesting because you could, I agree with you, like you could read it from both sides.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious in like our spoiler section to get into like if you're seeing which way you are reading it, because I think that will make a big difference in maybe your experience of the movie.
Honestly, I have a lot to say about that.
So the other thing I thought was there were also moments that were really creative, I think, stylistically in the filmmaking aspect of it. So there were a couple things where like there's a use of like kind of POV shots that I thought was really well done. So like in the beginning, you have, for example, like a whole like tracking shot or a montage of different shots following the perspective of the dog, like walking through the kind of crime scene. So there was that. There was another point where, because the son, who's, blind, and
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like
because that's the shot I was thinking of.
Yeah. So he's a big part of like the movie. And there's like a whole scene where the shot just holds on him while two people are like arguing,
and he's just watching them,
and then the shot like doesn't pan over to both sides, but it kind of like swivels
with his head.
Staying. That's what it is.
It's so well done. I thought that was so cool.
It was really cool.
His POV is so interesting too, because he's like basically blind. And so getting to see his reactions, like when he can't really, he's just following the sound of the voice.
Oh, that's true, because he's not seeing them.
Because he can't see them. And so it's like, it's kind of cool. We get to like, I guess also not see them with him. So
but it's more about like because even if he could see, that shot still works. Because
the reaction.
You show a boy who's being bombarded from both sides by these like adults who are like talking about these things that are really like overwhelming. And it kind of like gives
works
you that
both
feeling.
Ways.
So this also made me think of adolescence.
Me too.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
Because I think they do a similar thing, don't they?
I kept being like, well, that was the big question, because like when I watched Adolescence, I had the same thought. I was like, did he do it or did he not do it? This one, it felt very similar just in the way it was set up. And then as we like get more information, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but like the whole time you're kind of wrestling with the same question that you are with Adolescence.
I mean, Adolescence tells you a lot sooner.
That's true.
But I think it does some similar things with kind of the way it's covered and kind of focusing and playing with perspective. And, you have like the voices off camera that are happening. And so I thought that was like all that kind of stuff was really cool. Okay, so I guess, did you want to reveal? Okay, so I'm guessing I might be wrong, but you thought I gave it a 3.5 out of 4. Out of 5, and I gave it a 4.0.
I gave it a 4.5.
Oh my god. I actually was thinking for a second, man, maybe you could have really, really loved this.
I did really, really love it.
Okay.
It was really good. I was laying awake in bed last night just like thinking about it and unpacking it. And I couldn't sleep.
Wow.
Because I was just thinking about it.
And this is after sitting through a 2.5 hour mostly talking movie.
That's like what was so impressive about it. Is that like even though it was just dialogue the whole time, like you feel the tension, you're asking the question the whole time.
So before we get into that, Would you recommend this movie pretty much to anybody then?
I think so. Yeah, I think I would
Okay.
pretty much recommend it to anyone.
Yeah.
Especially if you like character-driven movies.
That's what I was going to say. I think if you like character-driven movies, I would recommend this. You also have to be okay with subtitles. It's
Yeah.
mostly in English, but there's
It's
a
like
lot
50-50,
there's a
right?
lot in French.
Yeah.
But also I think you have to be okay with longer, slow movies. Now, it doesn't
It didn't
always
feel slow to me though.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
it feels like that as things pick up, but
Yeah.
it kind of is slow getting there, I thought. I
All
think
right.
it's because it's a character driven
Yeah.
aspect of it. So if you haven't seen it, we would both, I think, strongly recommend you
Yep.
watch it and then come back and join us for our discussion. But if
Spoiler
you have
time.
seen it, it's spoiler time. Yeah. Okay. Did you think she did it like early on or not? Like, how were you tracking her level of innocence
Okay.
throughout the movie?
So I never believed she did it. But
Okay.
there were a couple moments where I was like, if she did do it, then she's got to be like a psychopath.
Okay.
And I didn't see enough evidence for that. So every time I would like kind of start to doubt, I'd be like, nah, there's no way.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is the moment the son finds the body
Mm-hmm.
and she comes out and reacts, very hysterically, I was like, there is no way a mother would let her son find a dead body like that. The dead body of
That's true.
his father.
Like if she was to have killed him, she would have not let him.
She would have
yeah,
like hidden the body or figured out a way to, I don't know,
make him disappear or something.
Yes. Like I don't know. There's just no way that a mom would let that happen to her boy. Like that is too traumatizing. The only way I guess that it could have worked.
But if she was a killer, like
she'd be a psychopath. Yeah. So the only other alternative in my brain was that she was a psychopath, but I didn't see enough evidence for her to be a psychopath. So the whole movie, I was like, she didn't do it.
Okay.
Like, there's just no way she did
Now,
it.
it could have been that it was her like alibi in a way or that it would help if her son was the one that discovered it, that it looks more accidental or something, versus like if he just went missing, it's probably maybe a little more suspicious.
I don't know. It's too traumatizing for her son to be the one to find the body.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's
what
a good
did you
point.
think?
I didn't think she had done it throughout, but mainly because I thought the movie was making her so suspicious and making it seem like she could have done it so much that, again, in whodunit type of things, the way movies are, and I think it's by design, that the most obvious suspect is never the one who did it. So, it's always a red herring. And so I think for her, like, she was kind of being positioned as the only suspicious one.
Yeah.
And that's the whole plot of the movie. As I'm watching it, it started to become more complicated.
Yes.
And that's when I actually started really getting into the movie. I was actually kind of a little bit like, not bored because I was engaged with what's happening, but everything was just kind of unfolding in a very straightforward way. So it wasn't very compelling for me until she goes on trial and she just starts looking more and more suspicious and more stuff keeps coming out about how like she might have had a motive and all this kind of stuff. Like that's when it started like pulling me in.
Yeah.
Before that, I think I was maybe at like a 3.5 throughout.
I never once thought about a rating throughout the whole thing. It was like when the credits started rolling, I was like, oh, I have to rate this. Like,
so that's a good sign.
It never occurred to me that like I completely forgot that we were like
even reviewing
it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great sign, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. But
anyway. I think that's why for me, like the first part of it, because it was slow, like I was kind of thinking about that.
Oh.
I was like, I don't know, is this a 3? Is it 3.5?
Yeah.
Because I'm just watching what seems like obvious, which is, okay, everyone thinks she's done it, but she hasn't done it. So what's the explanation going to be, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of watching it for that. But in the whole middle part of the movie, when she really starts looking suspicious, that's when it actually made me more interested in not so much. Okay, it was weird. There was a part of this movie where I wanted the ending to be that we don't get an answer.
I kind of, yeah.
Because what made the movie interesting to me was the complexity of her character.
I kind of feel like we almost didn't get like a very
Really?
It was.
I think this is.
I think there's still some ambiguousness.
Okay, this is the part of the movie that I was almost at a 4.5 like you, but the ending kind of made it a 4 for me. Because to me the ending was way too clear for what was otherwise a really compelling middle of how it's creating all these themes of like, to me, like the theme was about how like relationships can be very messy, and reality and truth and the justice system and all these things are just try to make the life too
black
clean
and
cut.
white.
Yeah. And life is just not like that. Yeah. And so what was super interesting was like, okay, this death happens.
Yeah.
She's the only suspect because she's the only one who was there. And then, you know, it wasn't totally clear because of the way he fell or whatever, like exactly if it was blunt force trauma before or after, you know? And so and all that stuff can very much be what happens in a real like murder or an accident, right? So then when you put a couple and their dynamic and all their baggage on display, like what couple is going to come through like totally
looking good?
Yeah, totally clean, right? Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I never heard my parents fight, or I never, you know, like.
And she gives that whole speech about like how our relationship is chaos.
Yeah.
And so really good.
Yeah. So every time she's saying stuff, I'm like 100%, I believe her.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not about like whether she's innocent or not anymore for me. It's more about like,
how's she gonna pull through?
Yeah, or like the fact that relationships are messy, and how does that fit in a justice system that needs very clear-cut answers, and a jury where even though it should be based purely on evidence, the conjecture is going to influence them, right? Like they're still conjecturing all that in their head. Like with all the evidence that's being presented a certain way, even in the American system, like even though you can't explicitly say all those things like they do in the movie, that's what the jury is being led to think, right? And they're having to like decide for themselves. And that's the part of that was so interesting. And I was like, you know what? The better ending for this movie should be that whether she is convicted or not, that we don't have a clear answer as an audience, that we're left with like, I don't know, was she innocent? Was she guilty? You know? But then the movie gives such a clear final, like the son is like, oh yeah, I remembered this thing. And yeah, so
I loved that scene. I thought that was so good. I love that like he's lip syncing his son's audio.
That was well done. That was well done. But to me, it was so
that was good.
Definitive that it was like, okay, now she gets off because, you know, he gave this very clear piece of evidence that gave him motive to commit suicide. There's still
some nuances, though.
Do you think the son could have lied? Because okay,
but there's other nuances too.
Okay, because that's the part of it that was like still, I was still holding out for maybe the son could have lied, and that would still keep it interesting because he would have motive too.
Yeah.
And maybe part of the nuance is like before he does the final testimony or second follow-up testimony.
Yeah.
He asks the person who's like, you know, watching over him, sent from the court, like, how do you know if you're not sure, you know, like, and has that whole conversation with her. Yeah. And so the subtext could be that he's trying to decide if his mom is innocent or not. And maybe the dog vomiting is like him kind of confirming, okay, she's not completely lying about everything. And so maybe he comes up with this story because he's decided that his mom is innocent.
Mm-hmm.
And so he comes up with a story
Such a smart kid, though.
Yeah, that's going to potentially like make her, you know, free her.
Yeah. I think that's one nuance.
Okay.
I think another nuance, and this is like a much darker idea I had.
I like, okay.
Which is...
Give it to me.
So the whole scene where they fight, I thought was so well done.
Oh,
like just the dialogue, the blocking, the way it escalated. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
But even the lead-in of how it starts with the audio transcript.
Oh, it was so
in
good.
the court, and then
finishing...
seamlessly goes into the like actual live thing.
Yeah,
and the then, acting performances of both of them,
and then like the fact that
so good.
It cut away like right at the moment that is the most complicated, because you're like, did she do it or did she not do it?
Yeah.
Like, did she hit him or did she not? And we don't know because all we can hear is the audio.
Yeah,
that was really so well done.
Yeah,
but anyway, I think that scene kind of revealed a lot about the husband and how manipulative he is, because he was recording without telling her and without her consent, although apparently he did that a lot. And he was egging her on. He was really trying to get her to fight with him. And it's really obvious when my husband and I were like, he is being terrible right now, because he was picking at every little thing he possibly could, trying to get her to be angry.
Yeah.
He was trying to turn her rage on.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to figure out, okay, either he is manipulating her so that he can get more material for his book, or what if he's trying to frame her for his suicide, which is evil. But it was a thought I had. It crossed my mind.
You know what? That thought crossed my mind too.
Yeah.
I was actually like, if he resented her so much,
he could ruin her life.
Yeah. That he would want to kill himself and frame her. That thought did cross my mind, except that I don't think he would have done it because it would have made life for his son a lot worse. And I think he genuinely loved his son, and he wouldn't want him to be without his mom and his dad.
Yeah. So
that was the only part that I was like, I don't think that at the end of the day he would have thought that far ahead.
Okay.
And that's almost makes him psychotic.
It does.
Yeah.
But he was being so manipulative in that conversation that I was like, I mean,
I agree. I agree with that. He was being very manipulative in a passive aggressive way that was pushing.
And she wasn't giving it to him at the beginning.
Yeah.
She was being very
controlled,
level-headed, calm, not letting it bother her. And it wasn't until he just kept pushing buttons that she exploded.
Yeah. But at the same time, knowing kind of what he was going through, it could have been his genuine reactions to, again,
I would have thought that too, but he was recording it on purpose.
Well, who knows how long that recording could have been going for, when he had started it. He might have, in the moment, even forgot that he was still recording. It's possible.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
I think
he knew what he was doing.
Again, I think that's what's interesting because this is the only time we see him alive, really.
Yeah.
Right? Or it is, right?
Well, and then the dog scene as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's kind of the whole thing is when you're looking at this argument, it comes in the context of 20 years of marriage or whatever it was. And yet we're hyper fixated on just this one conversation. We don't know how long he was recording before. We don't know what was happening the moments leading up to the moment of that conflict, right? And so
we know a lot of the key moments, but
yeah, but we also don't know how the actual fight happened, the physical fight.
True.
But
did you see that he had the hint of a smile when she started yelling at him?
I didn't see that.
He had the smallest hint of a smile when she started yelling at him. And I was like,
I mean, I think that could have been read as him kind of being oh my gosh, she's going there again. Because when these couples, right? And you've been married for a while too. I've been married for a long time. When a conversation is never from a vacuum, right? The moment the argument starts happening.
Yeah.
You're kind of you have this kind of shorthand based on all the other fights that you guys have had
Yeah.
that you're kind of drawing from. And so I think that's kind of what's happening too. Like when she says something, his mind goes to, oh yeah, like we're rehashing that again.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing the same thing, right? And so they're just
Mm-hmm.
doing that back and forth. And so they're like skipping ahead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, all this is like testament to how good the writing is and
And
how
the
good the
acting.
performances
Yeah.
are.
It was
Because
so well done.
then as we're watching it, like we both have like slightly different reads.
The subtext.
Yeah.
The subtext was so good.
Yeah. And I'm not totally disagreeing with you. I think he was being very manipulative.
Yeah.
I just think it could also have been genuine
Yeah.
too. Like in the moment, he could have just been genuinely reacting.
Yeah.
Especially if he was like off his antidepressants and all this kind of stuff.
Well, okay, this brings me to my theory about the theme.
Yeah.
So I think you're on target too.
Okay.
I think I had like just a slightly different version of that, which is I think the key word here is compromise. Many definitions of that word, because for one, the movie starts with her being in a very compromising situation, right? The second time compromise comes into the equation is when she's talking about moving to France.
Yes.
And choosing to live in his hometown and how she compromised her life for him. The fact that they both speak in English is like their middle ground, their shared turf or whatever.
Well, according to her. I don't think he saw it that way. I think he expected that because they're living in France, that she should
speak in French.
Yeah. And for the sake of the son too. Which it's not the most sensitive thing from his perspective for her.
Right.
But it kind of could be a reasonable expectation when they moved there that he would have thought that they would be speaking French in the home, especially as she learned it.
Oh, the third type of compromise is what are you willing to compromise on for the sake of keeping yourself safe? Like compromising the truth. Was like the third type that I noticed, where she she lies about her bruise because she's afraid that it will make her look more guilty. And then the reason that this like kind of solidified for me was in the last scene where she's hugging the lawyer, she makes the choice to like not kiss him. Because that's what was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
She makes the choice to not do that. And I think that is like a really cool way to arc her character, because she chooses to not compromise like her relationship with her son. Yeah. Basically. She chooses her son in that moment. That's how I interpreted it, because she immediately goes home and hugs her son. Yeah. And I think that was like a really cool way to show like, okay, in this moment, I'm not going to choose myself. I'm going to choose my son. Yeah. And prioritize him here.
No, that's good, because, you had established that she's been lonely, that she's gone to extramarital relationships to meet those needs. The one opportunity where the lawyer has already communicated that he had, at least earlier when they first met, that had been attracted to her. Right. And now she has no obligation to her husband because she's a widow. Yeah. But yet, in this moment, she chooses to not do that. Yeah. For the sake of the son, because knowing that she has to face the son, because when she then goes to his bedroom, I'm feeling relief that, like, thank goodness that you're not coming to him having just gotten into another thing when, you should be kind of grieving like the loss of your husband still, right? Yeah. So, but all those scenes made it feel so tense, because you're like, oh my gosh. Because even during the trial, is like, while the trial's still going on, they have these moments of potential like compromise between the lawyer and the defendant. Yeah. And I'm like, you cannot do this. You cannot go there. It's just gonna make it so messy. Yes. And complicate the whole like point of the movie, I think, in a way, So I'm glad they didn't do it. But it was really well done, because you're feeling the tension of like, oh my gosh, don't do it. Yes. But I did half expect at the end that they would kiss or something, and I'm so glad they didn't.
Yeah. I think her choice to pick the son was the ultimate arc. Because, yeah, at the beginning, it does kind of seem like she's being really selfish. She's mostly just thinking about herself. Her husband is also being selfish and only thinking about himself. She ends up like growing, I think, with a lot of this being pointed out to her.
Just to play the other side of it again. I don't think the husband was innocent by any means, but at least even in their relational dynamic. But if he really felt like he was doing more, and they weren't kind of sharing the load, it's right for him to express that to her. And she does kind of treat that objection in a very dismissive way. Like her attitude is kind of like, well, that's your choice. Like, why is this on me? Like, why should I have to change anything? And so in a way, like back to your word of compromise, she's very uncompromising. Like she's not willing to compromise because in my view, like in a relationship, someone's going to potentially be upset at some point throughout a relationship. It's inevitable. When that happens, like that person should vocalize and not just keep that down, right? And so he does that. He vocalizes his objections. And then it's kind of about the couple like talking it out and coming to a point of compromise, right? And it seems like she's not willing to do that. Now, maybe it's because, again, that conversation has happened so many times.
Yes. That's what she says.
Yeah. But
and like he continues to complain, but he's not willing to actually take actionable steps, which is what her complaint is.
Okay, fair. But he's still vocalizing it, so things are still not settled for him. Right. So even if it means that there is going to be no solution, like she should at least like be willing to hear him out, right? But it's very much like she's just kind of shutting it down and being like, this is on you. Like, you figure it out. This is not my problem. Right?
Right.
And so in that sense, I could see how he's feeling stuck or frustrated and trapped. Because the thing is that
But she does encourage him because she's like, I want you to write. Like, I would love for you to be inspired by me. Yeah. Like, I want you to do this and just do it. And like, she gets frustrated that he like won't.
But it's because he thinks that he's doing what's best for his son. Right? And so what's interesting is that normally this conversation in a movie is happening between the wife saying these things, and then the husband being the one who's like that. But here, it's actually the roles are flipped, like gender roles, kind of. And maybe that's because it's in France and it's maybe a little different. But it's interesting that like he's the one saying it, and it seems like it's okay that she's just shutting it down. If it was the husband who was responding to the wife in this way, I think we would have been a lot more sympathetic.
That's maybe true. I think I need to rewatch the scene again and think about it through that lens. But I kept feeling like he really was blaming her for his choices. Like that was how it looked to me. Because like she said, he chose to move them to France. He chose to homeschool their son. He chose to, and probably because he blamed himself for the accident. And then he chose to, make their house a B&B and like never completed it. And like he has, like the lawyer laid out a whole pile of projects that he's never completed. And he feels that pressure of, not being able to finish stuff, which is probably because of his depression. But then for him to kind of like lash out at his wife because his wife had success where he didn't isn't fair. And that's kind of how I felt throughout their conversation, is that he was angry that she had made choices he wished he had made. And he was blaming her for making the choices he wished he had made.
I think it's a lot more nuanced than that.
And she definitely is not like the hero by any means. She's not. She like, made a ton of mistakes, and she's a very selfish person. Like, but at the same time, him blaming her is not okay.
Like in a way, she is an absentee mom. They have a maid who basically, or a helper or whatever, who they hire, who kind of does a lot of the things
Yeah.
that maybe she would otherwise have done. And yet the dad feels obligated to continue to like be involved and to homeschool and all these kinds of things. And so if he really feels like that's the best thing for his son,
Uh-huh.
and the wife is like, oh, well, I don't care either way. You could do whatever you want. Like, I could see why he would be like, well, okay, well, I'm going to still do it because I think that's the best thing, but it's going to be at a sacrifice for myself. And yet he's a little resentful that like she doesn't seem to care and she can continue on living
Yeah.
her life however she wants. And so like, I
Well,
think it's a fair thing to feel and
yeah.
to vocalize. And the fact that I think it's more about her attitude of like not willing to kind of be like, okay, well, let me try to see if I can help or whatever. She's very like jealous of protecting her own space.
It almost seemed though that that's not what he wanted. Like if she had offered to help, he would have rejected it.
I
That
don't
was
think
how
so.
it felt.
The whole conversation was him asking for like more margin.
But not
and
really.
for her to help.
Not really, because he like doesn't think that her choices would be aligned with his, because, and I think there's a cultural clash here, because in German culture you want your kid to have complete independence. Like independence is so important, especially in earlier childhood. And so she probably would just send him to school if it were up to her, and she would like want him to not be treated or infantilized because he's partially blind.
Yeah, because that's
like
a big
she thinks
thing.
that's a disservice to him.
Yeah.
Right? And he doesn't. He kind of blames himself, but then he also thinks like, I need to be a present parent. And I don't know exactly what the French culture view of that is, but it seems like based on him alone that maybe they care more about like being a present parental figure.
Yeah.
And like maybe more, you know, being more comforting towards their child. I don't know. But yeah, it seemed like that preference was also a clash between them.
And I think that's borne out by the fact that, like, you know, the mom is totally okay with him being led around by a dog.
Yeah.
He's not even really like a trained, it seems like sight dog or anything. He's just like their dog.
Smart dog.
Really smart dog. I mean, the dog was so cute in this movie. He was so good.
Oh, wow. I cried a little bit when I thought the dog was gonna die.
We need to start having Oscar nominations for
dogs.
animals, animal actors. I mean, come on, his performance was fantastic. For me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like if my child was pretty much completely blind, like would I be okay with him like walking around these snowy like narrow pathways and steep pathways like with the dog? That kind of makes sense. And she says multiple times like, you are not a victim, like we're not, you know, you don't act like a victim and all this kind of stuff, and I don't want my son to feel like he's a victim. So that is consistent. And then the husband, the dad, you know, he's the one that, you know, set up all these different tape marks and all this stuff for the son, trying to like help him and kind of guide him along.
Yeah.
Now that could have been out of the feeling of guilt, which I can't even imagine what that must feel like, right? To be responsible for that or feel responsible.
Or feeling like you could have stopped it.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't be able to live with that, like, or forgive myself. I would have held that over myself forever, I think, you know? And I could see how that could affect the relationship where you're like, I feel like she's always judging me, you know, and having to live with that burden also.
I'm not responsible.
Yeah. And maybe that's why he feels like what is otherwise a cultural difference, reading that as like, oh, she's just saying, hey, this is all on you. This is all your fault. So you're the one, you're the one who has to raise our son because you basically are the one that almost killed him, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I need to look up
you know?
I need to look up like the French view on parenting, I guess.
But you know, even if that culturally doesn't line up, like every person is different. And so that's still the way he responded, right? All these dynamics are so well written into the characters and come out in the dialogue and the conversations, and that's the fun of the movie. And I think that's why I was just a little bit disappointed that the ending felt like the film was saying this is what clearly happened. Like I was even trying to read every little moment at the end with the son and the mom, like when the son is like holding the mom and giving her a kiss.
Hated ambiguous endings.
No, see, this is the thing. Like, I think every movie is different, and what a movie needs is different. I'm okay with an ambiguous ending if it works within the context of the movie. And I think this movie needed an ambiguous ending because the whole movie is working at its best when it's making us have to decide.
But again, I felt like there still were hints of the ambiguous. Like the son, did he lie? And then the dad, what was he doing with the recording?
I just wanted like a little bit of the son to show a crack of like, oh, he could have lied. Or even the mom to like potentially be like doubtful of like, did this really happen? And then like the son being silent. You know, like give me something like that for us to chew on. But it just seems so definitive that, oh, like this is what happened. And then like, I don't know. I needed a little more open-endedness for...
Oh. Yeah. I disagree. I think I would have been really frustrated if they had left it vague. So
I could see that.
Because like, I thought the same thing where I was like, if they leave this vague, I'm going to be mad.
But it would be so interesting.
I would have also been really upset if they had ended it with some plot twist. That would have killed it for me.
Yeah, like...
So I'm really glad. I was really happy with the ending. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, I thought in the beginning, I was like, oh, there's going to be some, like, the person who was being the interviewer
oh my word.
is going to come back into the story and, you know, like...
They're the murderer.
Yeah, so I was half expecting that, but I was glad it didn't go there.
Yeah.
It just kept it about those characters.
Or the son did it.
Yeah, I thought that too at one point, but I was like, no, we saw him who wasn't there.
Yeah.
So we recommend it. If you guys saw it, let us know. Who was right, the husband or the wife?
Also, if you know about the French culture
yes.
and how they raise children, I'd love to know that.
Yeah, that would be super interesting to kind of hear also.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let us know what you thought.
And you can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Letterboxd, or Apple Podcasts.
And join us next week as we continue our quest for the 5th star.